All right, so I've been waiting to do this video for probably a couple weeks now, and ultimately, geez, I don't know what today it is, June 5th, 6th, something like that, 2025, and there's the bill, the big beautiful bill is passed the House, it's in the Senate, it's all over the place. Elon and Trump are fighting, which is crazy. And I really don't know if this thing is going to get passed without being significantly changed and, in some aspects either, added on and gutted. But I want to talk about mainly one huge thing that does really impact real estate in this. And again, I'm not a tax professional. I'm just a real estate agent and insurance agent. And an investor. We have a lot of rental properties, both short and long term. So I want to talk about the big pro that I see, especially for the real estate investing side. But it is nothing, until this bill gets passed and it gets passed with what I'm about to talk about, we're not really going to see an impact. But what I want to talk about, the big part in the bill, is the bonus depreciation. And really, you don't even have to be in real estate for this to impact you. You can just be a general business owner. You can be a sole proprietor, which is just, hey, you know what? I own a lawn mowing company. I own a tree cutting service. I'm a licensed plumber and I operate my own stuff. The bonus depreciation can greatly impact you and your businesses, saving on taxes. Again, talk to your CPA or enrolled agent, EA, more about this stuff, but I'm going to give you my opinion based on kind of what I know. And again, I'm not saying, hey, this is 100% fact, go out and do it, but it's based on kind of what I know and what I've dabbled in. But the bonus depreciation, in a nutshell, to make it as easy as possible, allows a business owner, to purchase something of usually larger price points and be able to write it off year one. Whereas technically a lot of the tax code, if you bought a computer, let's just say you bought a $2,000 computer, they're going to say, well, this computer is going to last more than 1 year. And I don't know what the government views as a computer, maybe a 5-year depreciation. But they're going to say, well, if you spent $2,000, they have it in their code. It's going to say, maybe it is a 5-year depreciation. We're going to allow you to write that off over 5 years. So you can take, $400 every year. 2,000 divided by 5, $400 a year, and you're going to write that off. Let's say you're a farmer, you want to buy a tractor, $100,000 tractor. Same thing. Well, they know the tractor's going to last longer than 1 year. I don't know what it is. It might be 7 years or 10 years, give or take there. Usually I think a lot of your automobiles are 7. Same thing with automobiles, right? You're able to purchase an automobile for a business, a truck, anything like that, large ticket items. And you're thinking, right, a lot of people get messed up with taxes and they think about just themselves and their situation, and they don't understand that the tax code is the same for everyone, no matter if you make $1 a year, no money a year, or $1 trillion a year. The tax code is the tax code. And how it's used by millionaires, billionaires, and soon-to-be trillionaires, how it's used by them is they exploit all the legal, and again, it's called loopholes, but it's not a loophole, it's in writing. And the bonus depreciation to me is about the biggest one possible, the biggest loophole legally possible, to take advantage of the tax code. And I think that it'll be done through 2029 or up to 2029. So that's 3 or 4 years of 100% bonus depreciation. And what it does is it encourages business owners, investors to continue to buy stuff in order to offset their taxes and taxable income. And I'm going to explain how it works in real estate and why I use it in real estate. So right now, when Trump had passed when he was in office the first time, and passed the bill, the bonus depreciation kicked in, and then every year that once it ended, and I think it ended in maybe 22, so 23 was 80%, 24 was 60%, now 25 it's 40%, right? So, and what I'm talking about, the percentages is how much you can write off in year one of the purchase. But there's, in real estate, and when we buy rental properties, there's what's called the cost segregation study. This is probably the most important thing or most important term any real estate investor, or if you even want to get into real estate investing, that you should learn about there, because this is where this is why for some people and investors the cash flow really doesn't mean anything. They're okay with taking a loss with the cash flow because they want the cost segregation, which if it's 100% bonus can sometimes write off somewhere around like 25 to 35% of the purchase price, which is ginormous. You got to think, I'm a small tadpole, and typically most of the properties that we've bought have all been under 300,000. You know, anywhere ranging from, I think the cheapest one a couple years ago was 80,000. But typically I like just market wise. You know, they don't really lose a whole lot, and there's such a demand for that. That's just my strategy. If I was a gazillionaire, maybe my strategy would be to buy apartment complexes and commercial buildings and, you know, all kinds of things, you know, $2 million Airbnb beachfronts, right? But I have to strategize based on what I can afford in my financial situation. But that cost segregation study, when you do it, it allows you to accelerate depreciation. And this is the key factor that's in the bill that what I think will have a giant impact on real estate. So by accelerating depreciation, and again, I'm just going to use somewhere between 25 and 35% of the purchase price. That's an average. It varies. There's things that I can't even get into in the video. You'd have to do like and there's all kinds of stuff on YouTube, a very complex of how it actually works. But again, just imagine you pay a company to go out here to basically depreciate the property. They give you this huge, let's say 50-page packet of the cost segregation study that depreciates it and then allows you to write off a very large percentage of that year one because it's 100% bonus depreciation if it gets passed. And so let's use some easy numbers. I don't like to buy my properties cash. I like to finance the properties. I like to take a little bit of cash, use it to buy a lot using other people's loan from the bank, and then I can offset more. So let's use some quick, easy numbers. If I bought a $100,000 property, I know I got to put at least 20% down. So that means I'm going to give $20,000 of my money towards the down payment. So I'm financing $80,000 if the purchase is $100,000. But I get to write off the purchase price. And let's just say that on this cost segregation study, it comes back and I'm allowed to write off 30%. Well, 30% of $100,000 is $30,000. This is how the game is played, people. I just gave $20,000 as a down payment that is off of the principal. And so my loan and my payment is only on $80,000. And then, because I did this, the government says, thank you, Stephen, because you are providing housing for people and you're doing so well to invest in our economy to growth. We are going to allow you to do this cost segregation study and accelerate your depreciation on it. And it came to 30%. Therefore, we're going to allow you, give you a $30,000, it's not like a tax credit, but $30,000 basically write-off, so you don't pay taxes on $30,000. So I gave 20. I gave 20 that now I do not have to pay taxes on. I get 30, I get 30 to offset that. So now I still have another $10,000 of income that I can personally make that I don't pay taxes on. That is how the game is played, except it's played at a much higher scale. I'm just using very easy numbers And then I'm not going to get into too much, but at that point, you know what I do? I hold on to the property 1, 2, 3 years maybe, and then I do what's called a 1031 exchange. I 1031 exchange it, I turn around, I sell it, and then I roll it into another property, and I start the cost segregation all over again. And in real estate, and what I'm talking about is you never want to, the con of this is if you ever do sell the property and you don't 1031 exchange it, you do have to pay back that, what would be taxes on that 30 grand. But any true real estate investor, the game is played is you never get out of it, right? You never get out of it. You just keep building until you basically just want to stay put. And again, don't ever like talking about death, but until you basically die, and then it's all set up to then go to your kids, go to your foundation, go to whatever, and they are able to inherit it essentially tax-free, and they don't pay the depreciation. So you've just deferred taxes for forever. So that is the part in the bill, if it gets passed, that will greatly impact real estate. Now, I don't know location wise, and where I do think what'll happen is right now, if you look at our Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, Dollywood, Gatlinburg market, COVID made that the #1 Airbnb destination in the country by far. And then you can't even buy a 1,000 square foot cabin up there anymore for like less than $500,000. Pretty much all the cabins up there are like almost $1 million plus. Now, those are owned by investors. There's loopholes for investors if you're doing short-term rentals to do what's called use it as active income and take a loss and take a paper loss. So imagine you're a doctor. You make $500,000 a year. You know what I want to do? Your CPA says, hey, you made $500,000 net profit this year, W-2, which means you're going to be taxed at 37%. I don't know what the highest tax bracket is, but it's up there. Hey, you know what you should do is you should buy a short-term rental property, offset that. Well, how much should I buy? Well, based on these numbers, if you probably buy a $1.5 million short-term rental right now with 100% bonus depreciation, you're able to write off about $500,000. He's like, great. Okay, well, how much do I need? Well, you only need 20% of that, so you only need $300,000. So you only need $300,000 to go out and buy this property. Okay, well, I have that, so you go out, you buy this. Now, your entire W-2 income for that year is offset, and you pay no taxes. You pay no on your income. Obviously, they're paying taxes on everything, and people just doing everyday life, like Elon Musk, like, oh, you don't pay taxes. Yeah, he does. Think of how many people that they pay an employee, and he shops and buys stuff. You're paying taxes the whole time. You can't do anything in the United States without paying taxes on it. But you're not paying taxes on your income, right? Play the game. Don't hate the game. You got to learn the game, and you got to play the game. But this will be a big thing. So what will happen is, as soon as that happens, you got me. I'm sitting over here. I legit am sitting on the sideline right now. We just went and looked at a side-by-side that we could use for our business when we go out and show people land, that we can also buy a trailer for it to haul it. And so that way, when we have a client, hey, Stephen, I want to go see this 50-acre property. Great, here, I'll pull my side-by-side up there. Great, we'll get you on there. I'm not buying it yet, and the reason is I'm waiting for this 100%, this build to pass, or at least the bonus depreciation portion, maybe if it gets chopped up, to pass. At that point, I will go in and I will say, hey, side-by-side people, I'm making this number up, here's $30,000. I want to buy this side-by-side. And guess what? 100% bonus depreciation, using it for business purposes there. That is now, I've wrote off $30,000. I don't have to pay taxes. And a lot of people get this confused. That just means I don't have to pay taxes on $30,000. That's not $30,000 of tax savings. That just means I don't pay taxes, and you pay taxes based on your tax bracket. And let's just say easy numbers, it was 24%, right? So I'm saving technically 24% of the $30,000. So it's not, a lot of people that aren't super educated don't understand that. And again, sure, it is a savings. It is great. It's like getting a 24% discount at the dealership. That's really what it is. So it's not like it's just all of a sudden 100% discount. You just don't pay taxes. You still got to spend money. But that will generate, what that will cause, and that will cause people like me to consider, all right, let me look at a couple of my properties. Because I've already done this depreciation whenever I bought them, and it was at 180%, and even I had two of them I bought at 60%, and still had really good cost segregation numbers. But this year, we haven't bought a property yet. And we're having a great year in financially, and I know if I'm unable to buy anything, I will be pounded on taxes, absolutely murdered. And I don't want to do that, because I would rather spend money to then get assets that's going to pay me and write off, versus then just to turn around and give even just our government back my tax dollars, right? I would rather spend money, recoup, have assets, have stuff I can feel it, touch it, it's worth something, it can maybe generate money, it can help me grow the business or businesses. That's my mindset. I'm not saying that's the correct mindset, but that's my mindset on it. So I do think if you do see this bill get passed and that the bonus depreciation kicks in, you're going to see the 1031 exchanges come back roaring. And it's kind of like, I'm looking at numbers, and I'm just going to kind of make this up. To a certain extent, we bought 7 condos for like $980,000 2 years ago now. And they're legit probably worth 1.2 to 1.4, like 1.2 would be a low end. 1.4 would be extreme high end, but they are worth it. I would be willing, because it's kind of paper money, right? It's not, I can't access that money. I can't do anything with it. It's tied up in the real estate. As an investor, though, it would make more sense to me to take the less money in order to 1031 exchange. If I got a sneeze going on, whoa, and 1031 exchange it. And all you have to do in a 1031 exchange, let's say I sold it for 1.2 million. I just have to move that money into real estate. It can be multiple real estate, or it can be, one unit at a higher purchase price. So 1.2 million, $1,000, right? That's fine. I can do that. And then do the cost segregation study all over again. And again, write off a lot of taxes, potentially 25 to 35% of that purchase, depending on, again, how the cost seg plays out. But yeah, we really want to share that, and I think it's going to help our market right now. I've talked about this a lot. We're basically at the tipping point of the buyer's market. There's still micro markets within East Tennessee here that are considered sellers markets, but it's getting slimmer and slimmer and more rare and more rare. I think overall we're definitely in a buyer's market here. We're headed that direction very fast. There's nothing in this bill that interest rates are going to magically change. The Fed chair, he's in there until next June, so that's another year. And I think between him and Trump, they hate each other. And is this guy going to sabotage the interest rates to the point where it really kills the housing market? I don't know. But we're definitely tipped. And now it's like, all right, we're starting to pour the water out a little bit, and it's just coming out a little bit, so it's not bad. But is that the next year? Is that we're going to start pouring more out and again get bad, or are we going to keep that steady stream where it's really not a bad thing? I don't know. But yeah, I want to share that the bonus appreciation is the biggest thing you should all be paying attention to as a business owner, as a real estate investor, because now I'm going to be looking at stuff. You know what? I don't really care if it doesn't make me any money. It'd be great, if my payment's $2,000 and I can charge rent for $2,000. Well, great, I'm kind of washing out, which is not great financially, but I wasn't necessarily after the cash flow. I wanted the $150,000 tax write-off that property brought me. So in theory, again, based on what I would spend on taxes on that, getting 24% tax bracket, what is that? Oh, $36,000. So technically, by buying that, I actually made $36,000 of not paying taxes on that money. So even though I'm not making anything on paper, I kind of recouped the taxes that I would have spent. So that's all I'd say. You got to learn how to play the game. And guys, if you go on YouTube and stuff, it took me years and hundreds of hours. Come on, buddy, get on over. I don't know where you're going. Okay. Anyways, it took me years of listening to YouTube. And what I tell people is if you're searching a top end podcast, if you're searching a topic such as a cost segregation study, listen to 10 different people on a cost segregation study, because a lot of them are full of shit, and they give this fake information, or they give this numbers that are just so unrealistic for clickbait and all this stuff that's just like not true. And some of them are like too conservative, and usually it's somewhere in the middle is the truth. And a lot of CPAs don't really understand, are not tax advisors. This is what I learned. This sounds terrible, but I feel like I know more of the tax loopholes than what most CPAs do. CPAs are the person that's going to file your taxes. They are not there to tax advise you. Tax advisory is more from an enrolled agent. It's called an EA. Google enrolled agent. That is the person that basically understands the tax codes in order to advise you on things you can do. And again, they vary so much. I've had good experiences, bad experiences with them. But at the end of the day, what I decided to do was really self-educate and read between the lines, talk to people, ask their opinion on it. And that's what I would encourage you all to do. Self-educate, self-educate, self-educate. At this point, I have a doctorate from YouTube. I'm very confident in saying that, as many hours I've spent listening to that. Because as soon as I'm done with this, guess what I'm going to do? Probably pop onto YouTube, listen to something else, try to learn something else. But yeah, that can definitely have an impact on this market, which is the bonus appreciation used with the cost segregation studies. So do a little research on that. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. See ya.